Maybe you've been in this exact moment before. You ask a simple question and suddenly everything shifts. Her tone changes. Her eyes move just a little too quickly. She gets defensive out of nowhere. You can feel the distance, but you can't put your finger on why. That's not paranoia. That's your instincts, your built-in radar telling you something is off. The real danger comes when you let those instincts get buried under charm, excuses, and guilt trips. Because women who want to hide the truth are experts at one thing: turning the spotlight back on you. They'll make you feel like you're the problem, like you're imagining things, until you start second-guessing your own reality. But here's the good news. No matter how clever someone thinks they are, they can't outrun the right questions. In this video, I'm giving you 7 questions that cut through the fog, corner dishonesty, and force real reactions. Once you know these, you'll never be left doubting in silence again. Before we dive into question number 1, here's a quick reminder. Dishonesty doesn't scream. It whispers. It hides in pauses, in over-explaining, in the tiny inconsistencies most men overlook. That's why you can't afford to miss what's coming next. So pause for a second, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a quick comment if you've ever felt something was wrong but couldn't prove it. Because the first question I'm about to share is the kind that turns whispers into undeniable proof. Question 1. Where were you last night? It looks like the simplest question in the world, but don't let the simplicity fool you. That's exactly where the power hides. Here's why. A woman who is honest will always have one version of reality. Her details line up because she's not juggling a script. She's living the truth. But when someone is hiding something, this question becomes a razor. The first time you ask, she'll have an answer prepared. The second or third time, when you casually bring it up again at a different moment, maybe in a different mood, the cracks start to show. Lies are heavy, and it takes effort to carry them. The strategy isn't to interrogate like a police officer. You don't slam the table and demand answers. You drop the question casually, almost like small talk. One night you ask, "Where were you last night?" She says she went to dinner with a female friend and then watched a movie at her place. Fine. Nothing suspicious. But 2 nights later, in another context, you say, "Oh, by the way, your friend called earlier. How was dinner with her on Monday?" If the story is true, she'll recall it with ease. The restaurant, the food, even a funny detail about the waiter. If it's false, the story shifts. Suddenly, dinner becomes just a quick coffee. Or she claims she doesn't remember which day it was. Maybe she even snaps back with, "Why are you asking again? Don't you trust me?" That defensive reaction isn't protection. It's projection. The mistake most men make is asking once and taking the first answer at face value. But liars rely on your short memory and your need for peace. They hope you won't revisit the story. By repeating the question across time and context, you force consistency. And consistency is where truth lives. Here's a real example. A man's girlfriend claims she went out with a female friend and a coworker. Later, when he casually asked about the coworker, she struggled to remember what she'd said before. That gap wasn't random. It was the strain of carrying a lie. You don't need anger or confrontation. You need patience. You listen. You collect. You compare. If the story changes, if the details evaporate, the truth is already in front of you. Remember, it's not about the question. It's about the replay. Ask again in different ways at different times. A man who listens twice will see what the first answer tried to hide. Question 2. Why didn't you answer my call? Every man knows the sting of dialing a woman and watching the screen light up with no response. Sometimes it's innocent. She's in a meeting, her phone's in her bag. She didn't hear it. Life happens. But when the pattern repeats, when it happens at the same times, or when the excuses start to pile up, this simple question becomes a test of loyalty. Here's the psychology. A woman who's telling the truth doesn't need a novel to explain herself. She'll say, "My phone was on silent," or "I was driving." Short, clear, believable. But a woman who's hiding something, her answers stretch. Suddenly, you get a 5-minute story about how she left her phone in the locker at the gym, how the gym was unusually crowded, how she lost track of time, how she was exhausted, and on and on. That flood of unnecessary detail isn't clarity, it's cover. Another red flag is defensiveness. Instead of answering your question, she throws it back at you. Why are you always calling when I'm busy? Or can't I have one evening to myself? Notice what happened. You asked a question about her behavior, and somehow you are now on trial. That's manipulation. A woman with nothing to hide doesn't need to make you feel guilty just for asking. And here's the killer contradiction: social media. She claims she was too busy to answer. Yet during that exact hour, her Instagram story shows her posting selfies or commenting on someone else's post. If she had time to scroll, she had time to send a 2-second text saying, "I'll call you later." Silence in your direction but activity online. That's not distraction. That's choice. Consider this case. A woman claims she missed her boyfriend's calls every Thursday evening because she was at her book club, phones on silent. Reasonable, until her social media told a different story. During the very hours she claimed she was unreachable, she was liking posts and viewing stories. The book club existed, yes, but she wasn't there the entire evening. She was slipping out early to meet someone else, keeping her phone in her hand for social media but ignoring his calls. Understand this. Missing one call is nothing. Life happens. But consistent unavailability paired with shaky explanations is a signal. You're not asking this question to be controlling. You're asking because consistency is the currency of trust. So next time you hear, "I couldn't answer," "I was too busy," don't focus only on the words. Look at the length of the explanation, the tone of the defense, and whether her digital life tells a different story. Truth is brief. Lies take time. Question 3. Who are you with? This question slices through the fog of vague explanations. Most people, when asked who they were with, naturally share names, faces, and little details without even thinking. "I grabbed a drink with my college friend. You met him at my birthday last year." That's normal, that's human. But when a woman is hiding something, the details suddenly vanish. All you get is a vague, "just some friends," or "a few people from work." Here's why. Lies thrive in vagueness. Specifics can be checked, verified, or challenged. A liar avoids that risk by keeping things blurry. The truth, on the other hand, likes to be remembered. When a person is honest, they often provide more than you even asked for because they aren't afraid of follow-up questions. They might tell you the name of the cafe, what someone ordered, or even a funny thing that happened during the night. Details that flow naturally because they're real. Watch her body language when you ask. A woman with nothing to hide will look you in the eye, answer comfortably, maybe even smile. A woman covering something up often avoids eye contact, shifts in her seat, or suddenly acts irritated that you even asked. The body doesn't lie as easily as the mouth. Here's a strategy that works like a quiet truth detector. Circle back later. If she says, "I was out with a female friend and a coworker," then 2 days later you casually drop, "How's that coworker doing? You mentioned them the other night." If the coworker was real, her answer will come effortlessly. If the coworker was fiction, she'll scramble, stall, or even forget she mentioned them. That's the beauty of this question. You don't need to catch her in the moment. Time does the work for you. Another layer of protection is mutual friends. If she claims she was with someone you both know, you can verify without raising alarms. For example, you casually mention to that mutual friend, "Hey, I heard you two hung out last week. Sounds fun." If they look puzzled or deny it, the story unravels instantly. One case stands out. A woman always claimed she went out with her coworkers every Friday night. But when her partner finally met those coworkers at a company event, none of them ever mentioned such outings. Her vague "just coworkers" excuse was nothing but cover for another life she was hiding. Understand this. The question isn't about controlling her social circle. It's about clarity. If she resists giving you names, gets defensive when you press gently, or offers only fog instead of faces, She's signaling something. Relationships are built on accountability. If she can't even name who she spent her time with, what else is she hiding? Never underestimate this question. Who are you with? Isn't small talk. It's a mirror. Honest company is easy to name. Lies can't handle the light of specifics. Question 4. Why do you seem distant lately? This isn't a question about schedules. It's about the heartbeat of the relationship. When a woman begins to pull away, less conversation, less affection, less energy, you feel it before you can explain it. And here's the truth. Emotional distance rarely shows up without a cause. If she's being honest, she'll usually have a specific explanation. Stress at work, a family issue, health concerns, real-life problems that drain her energy. These answers come with context, details, and often an apology. I know I've been distracted. My mom's in the hospital and it's weighing on me. The honesty is tangible. She connects the dots for you and she's open to your support. But when the distance comes from somewhere else, another man, a hidden investment of attention, the response shifts. Instead of context, you get deflection. She'll deny the distance. I'm not different. You're just being clingy. Or she'll turn the spotlight on you. Why do you analyze everything I do? That's not an answer. That's an attack. It's a way of shutting down your intuition and making you question yourself. Another sign is overcompensation. The moment you ask, she suddenly floods you with affection, texts, or smiles. But it doesn't last. A few days later, the coldness returns. That roller coaster isn't real intimacy. It's a performance designed to cover tracks. Here's where you must be sharp. Don't settle for vague phrases like, "I've just had a lot on my mind." Press gently. What exactly has been bothering you? If the story has no timeline, no concrete weight, it's likely not the real reason. Genuine stress has fingerprints, deadlines, names, events. A cover story does not. In one case, a man noticed his wife growing colder by the week. Conversations shrank, physical affection dwindled, and shared activities no longer sparked joy. When he asked why, she said work stress. But when he offered to help, take over chores, plan a weekend getaway, she declined every solution. That's when it clicked. It wasn't stress stealing her energy. It was her attention invested elsewhere. Men often ignore emotional distance, hoping it will fade. That's a mistake. Distance is not neutral. It's directional. If she's not bringing her energy to you, it's going somewhere else. So, pay attention, ask the question, and don't be fooled by deflection or temporary sweetness. Emotional withdrawal is one of the earliest signs of betrayal. And if you feel it, don't gaslight yourself. Your intuition is usually right. Question 5. Can I see your phone for a minute? In today's world, a phone is more than a device. It's a diary, a social circle, and a record of habits. That's why this question is so revealing. It's not about what you might find on the screen. It's about her reaction in the moment you ask. A woman with nothing to hide treats the request casually. She might hand it over without hesitation or explain quickly if she's in the middle of something. Sure, let me finish this text first. Her response is calm, proportional, and free of drama. But when secrets are buried in that device, the body speaks before the mouth does. Watch closely. Does she instinctively pull the phone closer to her like a shield? Does her posture stiffen, her face tighten, her voice rise? These unconscious reactions happen before she has time to control them. A guilty phone owner doesn't relax. She panics. Common verbal red flags include, "Why do you want to see my phone?" Or, "Don't you trust me?" Notice how these aren't answers. They're counterattacks. The goal is to make you feel ashamed for asking instead of focusing on why she's so unwilling. Another variation is conditional compliance. "You can look later," or "after I clean some things up." Translation: she needs time to erase the evidence. The most extreme response is outright outrage. "Absolutely not. I can't believe you'd even ask." That level of fire over such a simple request tells you the truth. She's hiding something she cannot risk you seeing. Someone with normal privacy concerns will set boundaries calmly without theatrics. But when fury explodes, it's because the phone is loaded with secrets. Here's a smart tactic. Don't frame the request as a search. Instead, make it practical. Can I use your phone to call my brother? My battery's dead. Or, can I check the weather real quick? If she hands it over easily, that's transparency. If she creates obstacles, why not wait till later? Or just charge your phone instead? Those excuses are the real signal. Consider one example. A man asked to borrow his girlfriend's phone to check an address. Her entire body tensed. She clutched the phone like it was gold and snapped, "Use your own." That reaction told him more than any text message ever could. Remember this. You're not hunting through her apps like a detective. You're observing her comfort level with access. Trust doesn't panic. Secrets do. Question 6. Why are you dressing up more than usual? Clothes don't lie. When a woman starts putting in extra effort to look good, new outfits, bolder makeup, fresh perfume, it usually means she's seeking attention. But here's the key. Whose attention? If she's dressing up for you, it's obvious. She'll show excitement to share the look. She'll ask what you think, send you pictures, or dress up specifically for dates with you. Her energy is inclusive. You're part of the experience. But if the upgrades appear suddenly and you're not the audience, it's a warning. New lingerie that isn't for you. Heels and lipstick for a quick errand. A sudden obsession with looking flawless for just work. When you ask the question, pay attention to the tone of her answer. If she says, "I just felt like it," but avoids eye contact, that's a red flag. If she becomes defensive, "Can't a woman look nice for herself?" That's not empowerment, that's deflection. Of course, people can genuinely enjoy dressing up for themselves. But when the effort spikes alongside other signals, distance, secrecy, sudden phone privacy, it forms a pattern, and patterns tell the real story. One man shared that his girlfriend started wearing full makeup for late-night grocery runs. When he asked why, she dismissed it as self-care. Months later, he learned those grocery trips included secret meetups with someone from her gym. Fashion changes aren't proof of betrayal by themselves. But combined with vagueness about where she's going or who she's meeting, they're often a silent confession. Question 7. Why didn't you answer my call? Phones create accountability. We live in a world where almost everyone checks their device every few minutes. So when calls go unanswered for long stretches, the reason matters. Honest women give context immediately. "Sorry, I was in a meeting." "My phone died." "I left it in the other room." They might even call back before you ask. But when there's deception, excuses sound off. They're either too vague, "I was busy," or too elaborate, as if rehearsed. "I was driving, then the light turned red, then my boss called, then I dropped my phone under the seat." Too many details is a classic sign of a manufactured story. Watch for consistency. If she says she was at the gym, but her social media shows a different location, the timeline collapses. If she claims the battery died but her phone is at 80%, the math doesn't add up. Another tactic liars use is reverse accusation. Instead of explaining the missed call, they attack you for even noticing. "Why are you tracking me? Don't you trust me?" This is manipulation. The goal is to shift the focus from their behavior to your supposed insecurity. Here's a subtle test. Next time, don't mention the missed call right away. Ask casually, "What were you up to this afternoon?" If her story doesn't match the excuse she gives later, you've exposed the gap. Remember, it's not about demanding constant availability. It's about recognizing when absence comes with unnatural resistance to explanation. Question 8. Is there something you're not telling me? This is the truth grenade. It forces a choice. Come clean or double down. Most people, when asked this question, will naturally release whatever small worries they've been holding. Work stress, family drama, even minor personal issues. Honesty flows because there's nothing big to hide. But someone guarding a real secret reacts differently. They might freeze, hesitate, or laugh it off. Why would you even ask that? They might flip it back on you. Are you hiding something? These are stall tactics. The question is powerful because it's open-ended. You're not accusing her of anything specific, which means she can't prepare a defense. If there's nothing to confess, she'll answer simply. If there's guilt, silence or hostility will tell you everything. One man shared that after weeks of strange behavior from his partner, late nights, unexplained absences, he finally asked, "Is there something you're not telling me?" She went pale, shook her head, and walked out of the room. Within days, the truth surfaced. She was seeing someone else. You don't need to interrogate. Just ask calmly, then stay silent. The pause after your question is where truth lives. Most liars fill silence with over-explanations. Honest people don't feel the need. Final reality check. These 8 questions are not games. They are tools of clarity. Each one shines a light on a different corner of the relationship. Where were you? Checks her timeline. Who were you with? Tests her consistency. Why do you seem distant? Measures emotional honesty. Can I see your phone? Exposes digital secrets. Why are you dressing up? Reveals hidden motives. Why didn't you answer? Checks real availability. Is there something you're not telling me? Forces full transparency. Individually, any question might have innocent answers. Life is messy, schedules clash, and people sometimes need privacy. But when patterns overlap, vagueness, defensiveness, sudden habits, they form a map. And that map points to truth. Here's the hardest truth of all. If these questions consistently create tension, excuses, or anger, the issue isn't just her answers. It's the relationship itself. A partnership built on loyalty doesn't fear simple questions. It welcomes them because honesty is natural. Never ignore your intuition. If your gut tells you something is off, these questions aren't accusations. They're confirmation. The goal isn't to trap her. The goal is to protect your heart. Because at the end of the day, love is not measured by how sweet someone sounds when things are easy. It's measured by how transparent they remain when things get uncomfortable. And a woman who values you will choose truth every single time.